Is David Bell the most underrated wide receiver in the 2022 NFL draft class? Before we get into this one, guys, I want to tell you about the first official sponsor of the Cleveland Pulse, the Fairview Tavern. Since 2006, the Valori family continues an almost half-century-long tradition of being the place that Fairview goes to meet. They feature a rotating selection of local and domestic beers on tap and popular daily specials of traditional tavern food, as well as keto-friendly, gluten-free, and vegetarian options. Visit their website, thefairviewtavern.com, and check out the Fairview Tavern on Facebook and Instagram for events, specials, and more. 21867 Lorraine Road, Fairview Park. The Fairview Tavern. You tell me if this looks like a Jarvis Landry route.
Penalties tonight. That's a big one. 1st and 15. And there's a throw, and there's a guy that can make up for a miscue, and David Bell with a first down catch across the...
So with the 99th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns selected David Bell, a junior out of Purdue College. I have to admit, being a fan of Ohio State and watching the Big Ten a decent bit, this might be a little bit of a biased video because I did see this player play a good amount in the Big Ten College Football Conference. So I can sit here and tell you, he's 6'1", 212 pounds, and he might not be the fastest wide receiver ever. I think that is a lot of the consensus of what we've heard about David Bell, and really why he slid all the way to the back end of the third round at pick 99 overall because of some of his speed concerns. I think he was slated to go a lot higher in the NFL draft until the combine, until the pro day, and really because of the 40-yard dash, he did slide, and actually I think he was projected to slide more per NFL.com. They have him as a draft projection of round 5 to 6. And they have a pro comp of him as Zay Jones, which is interesting to me because I think Zay Jones is a pretty good NFL wide receiver. I think he's a pretty good football player. So I think the hopes is that David Bell can give you the support that Jarvis Landry would have given you if he was still on the team, and we just do it for a lot cheaper. We do it a lot younger. We get somebody integrated into the system who's new and who's going to be open to the coaching of Kevin Stefanski if that was an issue last year. And something that I think is a little bit underrated is that David Bell is the guy with Deshaun Watson. I know a lot of people maybe don't want to think like that, but David Bell's coming in as a rookie, and Deshaun Watson is going to have his first season as a Cleveland Brown, with David Bell being the first wide receiver drafted in this class. I think you could also say this for Anthony Schwartz, and Donovan Peoples-Jones being a little bit younger helps you out in the long run with building this roster, building continuity as far as the quarterback and the wide receiver room. So I'm excited to see what David Bell brings to the table. I think he was severely underrated because of the speed concerns, but I think his on-field play and maybe even his GPS data that a lot of front offices have been tending to look toward really shows that he plays a lot faster than he looks. Now, he's not going to run away from guys. I think that a lot of people can agree on that, but his bursts of speed look a lot faster than what his numbers say, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a possession wide receiver, especially with some of the pieces we did lose in the offseason, like I talked about Jarvis Landry, and someone who gets a little bit overlooked because of such a horrible year last year, but Hollywood Higgins was the possession receiver on the roster. So you lose your sure-handed individuals in Landry and Higgins. They both move on in the offseason. As of right now, Jarvis could still come back, but it seems really unlikely at the moment. So we got to give David Bell a chance. We got to let him, work in the slot, I think, and we got to get him some reps this offseason with Deshaun Watson and some of the other quarterbacks. The last thing I'm going to talk about here in this video is the overall situation that some of these wide receivers are going to be landing in the National Football League. David Bell being drafted by the Browns puts him in a pretty good situation, I think we would talk about. And this is what something me and Justin talk about a lot is where do you get drafted? Who do you get drafted to? What's the system? What's the scheme? Who's your offensive coordinator and head coach in this situation being Kevin Stefanski? And who is your quarterback moving forward? And that is Deshaun Watson for David Bell. So you really have to compare that to some of the other landing spots that the wide receivers in this class were drafted, whether it be Garrett Wilson ending up with the New York Jets and Zach Wilson being the quarterback. You could look over at Jameson Williams, a highly touted prospect, but now his quarterback is Jared Goff. And obviously there's some instability with the Lions organization over the past couple of years. And maybe even all the way down to somebody who we were looking at 44 potentially, and that being George Pickens being drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They always do a good job with their wide receiver selections. It seems like they always generate really high quality talent from that position, but this is the first time in a while they're not going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback under center. So definitely a lot of question marks with this draft class. Not only is it about skill, talent, and how you play the game, but it's really where you end up too, and who's your quarterback, like I said, who's calling the plays, and how the system really dictates the flow of the game, whether it be the running backs, the tight ends, and switching between a slot receiver and an outside receiver. So lots of things to consider here with David Bell. I think he lands in one of the better spots to land as far as a rookie wide receiver goes. So I think that's good, and I'm excited to watch him play. Let me know down below how you guys feel, if you're liking this type of content, and if you want to see more of this from the Cleveland Pulse moving forward.